Hello, good evening, and welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Overwatch Watchers Brawl. I am Threepwood007, and I'm joined tonight by Sir Waltham.
Hello, Threepwood. Good to be back.
Good to be back. Seems like we never left.
Indeed.
So, before we get started tonight, between this grudge match between Spectre, Leviathan, and Dirt, we're gonna get you started with that tasty pre-game interview brought to you by Sir Waltham.
Fantastic. Thank you, Threepwood. And I do have Pusey from Team Dirt. Pusey, go ahead and say hello to the people.
What's up, people?
Fantastic. And I want to go ahead and sarcastically thank you right now for making your name one of the most awkward ones to cast.
Oh, that was definitely on purpose.
I appreciate it. It at least gives me a little bit of a smile. But looking seriously going into this game, this is not going to be an unfamiliar game for you guys. You played Spectre Leviathan. I believe it was y'all's first game. Are you guys kind of looking forward to this grudge match, picking back up, seeing how you do this time around?
Definitely. We've had some time to look over the VODs and get some scrim time in, get more accustomed to the pick and ban system. We did have to play, was it last week? Our opponent forfeit for like the fourth time. So,
yeah. Well, that's
we're
just
excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be getting back into it, I'm sure, for your team. And we look forward to seeing you. Now, you can say yourself if you want to hype yourself up, but do you think there's anybody on your team that the viewers at home should be keeping an eye out or be keeping MVP considerations for this game?
My early predictions are Tasty, our main support, and Storm, our hit scan DPS. Pop off potential.
Well, you heard it, folks. You're going to have to definitely keep an eye out for them. Now, we were told that there might be a little bit of a substitution coming in today. It doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like y'all got everything resolved?
Yeah. Just as you guys were introducing yourselves, our sixth got here, so.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, better late than never, I like to say. But speaking of better late than never, we will go ahead and get started with the action here in just a few moments. I'll go ahead and let you get back to your team. But Pusey, thank you very much for swinging by and answering a few questions.
Thanks for having me.
Best of luck. Now, Threepwood, we are going to be going on to Lijiang Tower here for our first map. It seems there's not going to be any hero bans or picks for this this time around, since it is the first map. How do you think this is going to shake out?
Interestingly, I believe Dirt has this reputation of getting knocked down to the losers bracket and then having their potential opponents run for the hills. So they do have that je ne sais quoi legend to them. However, Spectre Leviathan did manage to take them on pretty handily. I want to remind everyone this is a grudge match. We are back for Spectre Leviathan versus Dirt, who played in round 1, and Dirt got a 3-0 handed to them, so I think they're going to be looking for some sick revenge, but Spectre Leviathan plays some really dirty comps.
Yeah, and I think that upon speaking a little bit earlier with Pusey, it seemed like they were kind of really looking to increase that flexibility against those comps that perhaps they weren't just so prepared for this time around. So I very much so look into seeing if they've gotten better, and hopefully we're going to see some improvement come out of both teams. That's what I like seeing is everybody growing.
I have a feeling we will. I think there's nothing like a loser's bracket match to get teams, much like the Super Bowl in the NFL or the World Series of baseball. I don't know if anyone's really familiar with those terms. I know this is esports, but this is the do or die situation. You lose tonight, you're going home for good.
Yeah, certainly a spot that both teams do not really want to be in, but to start off, to have both teams kind of take the chance to reclaim their title, we are going to be starting, as I mentioned, on Lijiang. We're going to be hopping into, I believe, the Gardens map to start.
Yeah, Gardens map being one of those tasty little maps where you get a lot of tasty little compositions coming out. People jamming into that chat that they hate Widow. Possibly a sign of things to come if Flare has anything to say about it from Spectre Leviathan. I think that might be the case. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and we didn't get to see it last game with Ragnar versus the Bulldogs, but it looks like we might be seeing a little bit of Pharah come out here, and I'm excited. Gretsu on that Pharah has a lot of chance to get some early damage if they're playing really carefully, get some concussive blast kills, and overall anxious to see how it's going to play out for Spectre's team.
Yeah, so Spectre coming in with a very damaging competence, 3-3 coming out for Dirt. A solid choice, but there's not a lot that they can do about that Pharah in the sky. And look at that, they are just raining rockets down. It's going to be rough for them to do anything about it, but a Discord on them is certainly the right way to go.
Yeah, and Gretsu not quite finding the value that was needed right off the bat, and it looked like Dirt was going to close the gap pretty quickly, and probably a better call for Spectre to kind of get out of town when they did.
Yeah, it's nice to see a fight won by Dirt without having to get a single elimination. Just some good solid positioning and countering the composition from Spectre well. But here it is, now the fight's going to be on in earnest, and that's a lot of Tesla damage coming in. Flare going crazy, popping off, grabbing Lucio, D-Mech and the Diva, and the barrage already comes out. They're going to get picked, but that's going to be it. This point definitely going back to Spectre.
Yeah, kind of a fascinating comp, and really it's one of the hamstrings we see when you play against, or when you play as a GOAT comp. If you start losing the fight, or even if the fight drags on too long, you're going to be giving a lot more ult charge to the enemy team. We saw it with the Pharah, we saw it with the Ana, even the GOATs comp really kind of crushing the team, but the Ana able to keep them all up, not getting any losses in terms of lives. So the ults came through in rather quick order.
Yeah, and there it is. The ults are going to keep coming out with big stuff coming out. That's going to be a rally, though. Lots of sustain for this fight as Spectre evens up the point percentage game. Is Flare looking to get out of there, and wise, because that fight is not going to be something they want to get caught up in as a 3-3 come up. Boom, there it is. They find the Zenyatta. These teeny tiny picks there. What the freaking hell is going on here? They're going to be able to get back on the map despite the boop, and with the supports going down. Ana is going to get clapped back in reverse, though, but they are eventually going to get booped off, and I think this could be the big chance of Dirt to retake.
Yeah, Hoon, I believe, was that character they were waiting on, and it seems like the wait was worth it. Going to be getting a lot of kills off the back end, really helping secure that fight onto the Widow, as we see now, onto Sokotoa. That Lucio, not typically the fragging support we see too often, but definitely going to pop off in this fight.
Yeah, Garden's affording that opportunity to do some serious work. Gretsu is going to eliminate Baby Diva out of mech, but upon dying, that point is going to flip back finally to Dirt. We have a pretty close Lijiang tower here.
Yeah, Gretsu perhaps, I thought they'd be changing off of that Pharah with how they popped that Rocket Barrage, but it looks like they'll be sticking on it, sticking on the Pharmacy for the time being. Trying to get some early damage, but the Rocket Barrage is surprisingly ineffective. You'd think they'd like to save it.
Yeah, and unfortunately with the Diva Bomb coming out, they're going to have to dive. Whoa, look at that, going almost down to the death. They are going to fall, not having their boosters to get them out of death. Mercy unable also to get a res, because when your corpse is floating at the bottom of the river, well done there, Freak. Numbnut. Flare going to pop off again, but this engagement's going to pretty much be going for Dirt as they overtake in percentage.
Yeah, and despite the team fights not going their way, Flare still getting a surprising number of off-support headshots here. Really kind of, if it were looking in any other stage of the fight, kind of tipping the scales of battle, but they're just coming in a little too late.
Yeah, I like it when a Widow pops off. Huge anti-nade, though! It's going to get countered by the barriers, and that means Gretsu is going to continue to have to do some serious solid work. And with a barrage coming online, though, I think they're going to get to save it, as Spectre in the Twilight Hour is going to get a nasty potential stall here on a Diva, who will be looking to jump off as quickly as they can.
Yeah, and Spectre luckily getting control of the point. However, it will be Dirt who has a significant ult advantage. If they're able to draw the fight out for long enough, Jack and Storm can work together, set up that Grav Bomb combo that we've seen in a lot of situations kind of just take down the opposing team, especially if they're able to focus Sokotoa's shield down.
And focus on the shield they will, but the barrage comes in just a little too late as Diva is able to block most of it, and unbelievable shadow goes in! Oh, but the boop! That's gonna be a full Diva kill, and the Winston no tanks for Spectre. With 91% left, they may have to sacrifice the point, and this is very dangerous overtime territory.
Yeah, that is not the way I think that Spectre was looking to have that fight go. The fight was looking very optimistic for them with, I believe, the Rocket Barrage really getting a handful of kills. But with Flare switching onto this Reaper, perhaps they're just looking to be a little bit more of a direct brawl comp.
They've got 2 seconds to jump onto the point with the Diva Bomb going out in the back. That's going to grab the Lucio, who's not going to be able to make it back to the point in time. They're going to keep the Diva from remeching, though, and that's huge. Their own Diva Bomb goes to the point and gets 2! Hoon and Tasty support's gone. Only Brigitte left for... Oh no, and too many kills now. They brought a Reaper to the party, and nothing says double shotguns like Reaper taking the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, that Reaper going to be so good. Jack taking a little bit of a dip. Going to be so good at just barrel stuffing those opponents when they have to push into you, when you've already gotten a firm hold up to the point, which they did due to the rotations. It makes the Reaper so lethal and so intimidating as well.
Oh yeah, nothing. Again, just a Reaper showing up on the point in the last minute. You absolutely have that sudden, just sinking feeling of Christmas. This is gonna take ages to clear him off, and they did not have ages, and so the first point going to go to Spectre, but man, did Dirt make them fight for it.
Yeah, indeed. Dirt looking still pretty strong so far. I think that fight will not be argued that it was one-sided in any aspect, or that round rather, not one-sided in any aspect. Curious if Storm is actually going to roll out on this Junkrat. We've seen the Junkrat have so much potential to get early Riptire kills just because of how fast that ult charges.
Oh yeah, and the composition coming out from Dirt here just is so rife with ult combo potential. Ryan and Zarya both having the ultimates that let Kaz and Storm bring the storm, and there it is! Wow, Pusey ripping apart Naka no Amigo very early on in the fight. Kaz doing incredible work hunting for heads with his tree trunk arrows, and again, Dirt takes a very early victory in the control point fight.
Yeah, however, Gretsu looking like they're going to be switching onto the Hanzo. Looks like it's going to be pretty close to a mirror comp. Flare going to be switching and to the McCree in, I guess, comparison to Storm's Junkrat. Not as much bursty damage, not as much shield break potential as you might like to see, but not going to be feeding that Zarya as much either.
Yeah, I think Spectre's reading the writing on the wall. Well, there goes the McCree, so he's not reading much of anything. And bam! Dirt is just going ham! With the tires gonna split them up, even gonna get the kill on Lucio. And Dirt is gonna get the coveted advantage of being able to camp this spawn position.
Yeah, it may have been a little preemptive from that Hanzo. You think that the team was pulling back anyway. You can save it for when about half their team has gone through that very tiny front door, fire it and really separate those teams like we've seen the Hanzo do successfully so many times before in such a strong fashion. And with Storm getting that tire kill, it's going to be very convincing to this early win fight. Not going to be looking like the Team Spectre is going to be putting up much of a fight initially.
Yeah,
so we'll see them hold.
And yeah, Pusey absorbing the shatter on the shield like that. A huge ultimate from Sokotoa just getting completely nullified. Gretsu the only one gonna have anything for this fight coming online. And with 65% coming up, Dirt is really showing their dominance, and a Grav coming in that's only gonna solidify it.
Yeah, perhaps the tank ults not being quite coordinated there. Pusey and Jack both going to be popping their ults, it seems. And it looked a little bit haphazard, but it still won them the fight. But perhaps at a very high ult investment cost that Gretsu and Naka are going to be the only ones with ults on the board soon.
And the barriers and the tire coming out for Dirt going to be a very difficult combo to overcome. But the Dragon Ball is real. This could be the start of Spectre's resurgence. There it is! Here it comes! Dragon Ball barriers comes in, but the nade comes in and he gets the team wipe! There it is! Spectre not out of the fight yet.
Yeah, Hoon doing their best to keep the team alive with that sound barrier. However, not going to quite be landing. And the team wipe speaks for itself. Those Zarya Dragon Grab combos, as we see so many times before, are just so powerful when you have the entire team pinned down and able to take the full force of that damage.
Yeah, that's super nasty, and without further ado, Dirt is going to have their work cut out for them, but they have a lot of time to make that work.
Yeah, indeed. Sokotoa throwing the Earth Shatter a little bit early wasn't necessary, but in that situation, you still kind of like to see the fight won with just one ult, regardless of how effective the ult was used. Gretsu taking out Storm's tire.
Yeah, that's going to be massive without that fight-winning ult into the party. And Jack almost had his Grav. You figure they had so much time, maybe just wait for it to happen. Instead, they're going into the point a little prematurely. Naka no Miku going to take out their Zarya counterpart. This fight's pretty much done for Dirt unless they can grab something. Storm doing some work, but in the end, they're going to get pushed off. Yeah,
and the play really makes sense here coming out from Team Spectre. They put the nano boost onto the Zarya. She was at 60%, and with the nano boost, she's able to get Grav at the end of this team fight. And we've seen when teams go through this choke, this very tiny choke, one Grav able to hold them down so long and able to lock them really open up for those kills.
Now, super dangerous situation if they're able to come right through that choke, because as we noticed, Sokotoa has switched off of the Reinhardt onto the Hammond. They're going to preemptively determine this fight with another Dragon Ball combination that is going to almost result in a team fight. Nakano grabbing as many kills as they can as a steal from Gretsu, who still wipes out half the team on their own. But Pusey's Shatter's coming up, and there's no shields to block it.
Yeah, indeed. The only thing you could really hope for is that Naka gets some IQ 500 personal barrier blocks through the Earth Shatter. However, it's going to be tough, especially looking at how many ults they're going to be facing down.
I love the attempt by Flare there to get a sneaky Deadeye and try to stop them from getting onto the point, but it's they can't do it. Oh no, Dirt wasn't able to get back onto the point in time, so Spectre takes the map.
Yeah, once again, the point's going very highly contested. It's getting 99 to 99, I believe, both times. So both teams are looking really strong, but it was a little bit more unilateral in this game, where once we saw the point get taken, it remained taken for the entire game. Whereas last game we saw a lot of back and forth. So perhaps we're kind of seeing where these teams have parity against each other and where they might be a little bit more deficient.
Yeah, Dirt having the potential to really push this through. It's just Spectre's strategies made it so difficult for Dirt to get back in there. Dirt had all the ingredients necessary for victory. Spectre takes Li Jiang, but it's going to be anyone's guess as to who's going to work the next few maps out.
Yeah, I think that is very accurate. It's with these hero bans, it's pretty much anything can go. Any one character can change what a team's comp might comfortably look like at the drop of a hat. So I think that a lot of the emphasis is on Dirt to kind of not necessarily pick right, but pick strategically with what they can play against. Because it's not just a question of, oh, if you ban Lucio, you win. If you ban Reinhardt, you lose. If you ban Hammond, you win. It's one of those things where it's, well, if we ban Hammond, then the comps they're forced to run give us a higher chance. It's a lot of times people think of compositions and the meta game in terms of concrete things, where this one, Dirt really needs to consider their possibilities on more of a personal skill-based level.
Yeah, and in this situation, they have the opportunity to not only ban a hero and choose the next map. That hero ban can play very tightly into their own strategy for what they want to do. Now, Dirt has also shown the capability to run different comms other than that traditional 3-3. So with Gretsu saving the Lucio for Spectre and banning Hanamura, Dirt now has an opportunity potentially to say, hey, we might actually be pretty good at 2CP. What if we run the remaining map, Horizon Lunar Colony, and and ban a hero that will really hurt their defense?
Yeah, I think that is something to really kind of consider. However, judging by how this tournament's gone, I'm going to use my amateur caster clairvoyance here, Threepwood, and say that Horizon Lunar Colony, not likely to be picked. I don't think we've been seeing it a whole lot this tournament. So maybe we will. I'm not ruling it out. I just think it's a little unlikely.
Yeah, I can only recall seeing it once, so they probably won't want to risk it, as it is a map that can be a little bit of a pain in the badootie to get it all the way through and make sure that you take it from your team. So Dirt, again, in the hero ban and map selection stage, which of course, important reminder, Spectre Leviathan is going to get the chance to choose what side they start on, and that can be a little bit of a tricky choice.
Yeah, indeed. And I don't really know if I would have a good answer if I was sitting on this situation. However, it looks like the call going to be coming in from Dirt to ban Widow and head on to Route 66.
So we've made something of a meme out of I Hate Widow, but this is the first time that it's ever actually come through into anything concrete, as Spectre Leviathan will not have access to that little sniper. So for this Route 66 defense, that's kind of huge. Widowmaker, very solid pick for a lot of the stages.
Yeah, especially we see a lot of times, we've seen it a couple times in this tournament where teams will run 4 DPS, especially on that very first initial straightaway, where you have those very long sight lines. You'll run, I think, something along the lines of a Pharah, a Soldier, a Hanzo, a Widow, and then some sort of disruption tank, Orisa, Hammond, and then a main healer, and really just using those long lines to really break down Goat's comps before they can even really clear the distance. So we're going to have to see how it shakes out. I'm wondering if they're anticipating perhaps having to go against a little bit of that, or if this is just they don't necessarily want to see the DPS hop onto that.
I can absolutely understand their particular frustration with Lijiang Tower, that first particular garden map, being a situation where you're going to see that a lot. You're going to see that Widowmaker come out sometimes, and with a player like Flare who's particularly proficient with it, I think that's going to be a bit of a problem for the other team. However, in banning a character like a DPS, like a hit scan hero, you lend that, you give away to the other team that that's going to be something you're looking to counter, that be possibly a little fearful of, so you want to make sure that doesn't show up. Flare, I want to call to attention, has an Ashe player icon.
Yeah, and that's the point I was right about to make. Appreciate bringing that up. In this game, there's so many characters who are kind of replaceable, and we're especially starting to see that with Ashe and Widow. So normally it would only be Widow, maybe Hanzo if you had a really good player who could switch between the two snipers or switch between hit scan and projectile. But now Ashe kind of helping to seal that void to kind of be the grout, I believe, if you will, between having that super close range, but also having somebody else who's hit scan long range. And I think that as those gaps get finer and finer, these hero bans will start to be a little bit more ambiguous. Because as we see right now, it's looking like Flare going to be hopping onto that Ashe, which to me doesn't seem like a big surprise, but maybe they were really looking to have Widow in that pocket. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the choice of Flare for Ashe doesn't surprise me at all in the slightest. The ultimate Bob also having the glorious ability to contest the point/cart, whatever you happen to be running, which, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about that, but if you're playing Ashe, I definitely take advantage of it. Meanwhile, their dive setting up, that's going to be a very tricky situation to be going up against a modified pirate ship.
Yeah, highly anticipate Storm just going to be hopping onto this Sombra to do a little bit of scouting. In fact, we're going to be seeing Jack fire that sonar arrow for that exact same purpose.
And with the Orisa Diva and the Bastion still coming out with the Ana Zenyatta backing them up, Storm staying onto the Sombra, this is going to be a rough dive as Sokotoa already gets hacked. No bubble, no jump.
Yeah, that's really not what you want to have happen if you're preparing a dive. You don't want your high mobility kind of dive leader to really fall or be disabled from taking that dive initiative early.
Speaking of dive initiative, Gretsu already getting ripped out of the game. Marshy almost getting pulled into the Bastion sightlines. Lila Huang, however, going to get Gretsu back up before Hoon finds their head. And here we have Roadhog jumping into the game. And wow, Spectre Leviathan with a little bit of leverage going to dethrone Bastion from his little payload vantage point.
Yeah, looking a little tough there, of course, hopping onto the Hog. Perhaps a little bit late, and you'd like to have the Hog and the Orisa rolling together at the same time, but I believe we saw Storm come in a little bit behind the ball coming off of that Sombra, if I'm not mistaken. So perhaps they'll have a little bit better of a go at it where they can get the synergy a little bit more set up, but Storm's still a bit behind.
Definitely, though, yeah, here they come now, finally getting back to... No! Bob gets canceled! Wait, no, there he is. He didn't get canceled. He's just hidden behind the cart. He gets anti-nated, and unfortunately, he's in great position to go ripping into the Diva. Gonna grab the D-Mech. A Diva bomb gets committed to the fight as well. I think that's a tad overkill. It grabs the Gremlin Diva, and Nakano Miku, though, gonna get staggered for it. Bit of an interesting advantage that Dirt might have in this next fight.
Yeah, and we're gonna start to see a lot of the criticisms that come through for Hog in particular. Storm on this Hog might be able to get some good value, but they're going to have to switch off because of the amount of ult charge that Hog can just give the enemy team. We saw them even being willing to give up that whole Hog just to get off and perhaps go to something a little bit more diety, which we're definitely going to be seeing right here.
Can't blame them. After a couple failed pirate ship attempts, getting Bastion onto the cart is as much of an effort as just moving the cart, and move the cart they will, taking advantage of that positioning despite Flare and honestly Spectre really tearing apart Dirt's offense as they get a little too split as their dive kind of goes off in stages.
Yeah, it looked a little bit sloppy there. It did look like Dirt couldn't quite get organized and decide whether they wanted to jump the front line or the back line, with the tanks looking like they were going back, the DPS looking like they were kind of trying to maintain a frontline presence, and it looked a little bit ugly in terms of cohesion from the team.
Yeah, when you're going to be running the dive, you need to have that coherence together, but I think this could be the start of something new for Dirt, who are going to grab Gretsu out of the fight guaranteed the Gretsu's not going to get back in time for the conclusion unless Dirt takes their time. But Jack coming back from spawn means that they do have to take it a bit easy. And Winston jumping in there, Pusey, that's risky business as Bob comes out starting to rip everyone apart.
Yeah, a nice sleep dart going on to Bob, however, going to be taking him inactive, essentially nullifying that ult.
Huge Diva Bomb goes into the backline, but Bob wakes up just in time to pick apart Jack as before they can get back into their mech. But Dirt having a huge man advantage here, they're going to be able to grab Mercy and stall her out.
Yeah, it is going to be crucial, and it looks like Flare perhaps doing a little bit of damage, but Kaz, you have to be aware of those tracers, especially when you're playing snipers. Even if you're not on Widow anymore, you still have the same kind of weaknesses, not to the exaggerated extent that Widow does, but still to a lesser degree.
Yeah, Tracer no tracing, but here comes Tracer again. Spectre making one last push for point A. They have a shot here to do a pretty big hold, but Storm going in with the blade, that's going to be a huge problem. Diva Bomb gets nothing, but Anna's already out of the fight for Spectre, and it's going to be difficult for them to stay in the game with just the Mercy, who's getting harassed like crazy, forced to pull out the Valkyrie, but 1 meter left means if Spectre leaves the cart for even a moment, it's going to get pushed home.
Yeah, this is going to be tense for both sides. They really need to start pulling the kills through if they want to see the change come in.
Oof, and with overtime coming in, Kaz, the only member, no, here comes Pusey. They have a shot left at this cart, and with Tasty coming back online, but Hoon gonna get pulled out of the fight before they can get back in. Jack now switching onto the Ham and get back into the fight very quickly. They're gonna eliminate Diva, and Dirt really has a shot at pushing this through.
Yeah, Dirt is really looking good right now. Jack, being that enforcer that they really needed to be disrupting the cart just enough.
Oof, but Bob on the cart, that's a contest opportunity. Gretsu with a huge Diva Bomb. They leave the point long enough, and Dirt can't stay on it.
Yeah, Gretsu really getting the dream as far as Tracer ults go, getting a 2-for-1 onto the DPS, and those DPS are so wily and hard to hit, it wouldn't have been a problem for Bob, but if you have some other, like if for some reason Bob was disabled by an on a sleep dart or something along those lines, it's so hard to hit those high impact, slim hitbox characters that getting those two with one ult is just massively valuable in that situation.
Yeah, that probably was what sealed the deal. Bob also contesting the cart means Spectre can run around to their heart's content until he vanishes. Of course, Bob contests the cart. So that's going to be Dirt unable to push it past point A, setting the pace. Spectre Leviathan knows exactly what they need to do to pull out Route 66.
Yeah, and Spectre Leviathan's task not exactly looking monumental here. Getting this first point is not the most uncommon thing we've seen. It is possible to defend it here, but it's really going to come down to this organization. And like I mentioned before, it's looking like the DPS going to be running that quad the defending team going to be running that quad DPS core right now. Hanzo, Widow, Pharah, Soldier.
This is a composition that we've been seeing more and more a lot these days. Less the hero picks, more the hero choice, hero classes. Pusey on the Mercy, the Soul Healer, and Jack on the Hammond, the Soul Tank. And then 4 DPS. Hugely punchy, Mercy with the res to keep one particular hero from going down so they can get 1 kill out. And that's going to make up for the fact that they have only the 1 tank and only the 1 healer.
Yeah, the downside to this will be that with Storm on the Pharah, Pusey will not be able to pocket them as much since their healing will be the only healing on the field for the defending team.
Oof, and there it is, snipers doing their duty. The Shimada brother takes the fight again. Hoon wiping out Gretsu. Jack going in, not really getting a lot from his pile drive, but certainly making a disruption.
Yeah, and one of the key factors to know about Hammond is that because he's so fast, he can play around health kits incredibly easily, which can be crucial when you have such limited healing as the one Mercy.
Uh-oh, but here comes Spectre. They brought a Sombra to the fight, and a switch that is perfectly well timed going to stop Jack from using any of his pesky abilities. And he's going to come pile driving in again. He waited until he had his shield back, which is clutch, though, and Kaz is now going to pop out the Winston. Another push from Dirt that's probably going to stop a little early.
Yeah.
Spectre.
Yeah, but as the reses come through, we will see how true that is, and Spectre absolutely going to be popping off here as the kills start to go through, and once Jack falls, there's just nothing to stop the team from rushing those soft squishies.
Yeah, Spectre doing a lot better at their job than I am. They're going to start pushing Dirt into beyond point A, gaining an incredible quantity of distance on the cart, pushing past that crucial choke point, and getting into the final stall point. Valkyrie now popped to match a tasty on the tack visor. Look at him go!
Yeah, absolutely crucial there that they get it, that they got those kills. In fact, the res quantity coming back up onto Tasty, and despite the Primal Rage, not much value going to be got, or not much ending potential going to be achieved there, as they still need to get one or two more pushes to get this card to completion on behalf of Spectre.
Brilliant rally by Dirt. They committed exactly what ults they needed to. Kaz drops the sights, but hey, you know, you want that Widowmaker to know where everyone got B. Gretsu, though, coming up with an EMP. This is going to be a pretty dirty combo, I think, coming in, if Nakanomigu can build up to that Diva ult.
Yeah, and we hear it talked about a lot about how these snipers can play really well together. But speaking of snipers, Flare with the massive kills coming through right now.
Yeah, getting that dynamite on there. Sokatoa going crazy with his Mercy counterpart, and Ana just making sure that everyone stays down, can't get those heals. This could be a bad situation for Dirt. They might not be able to get back on the cart in time. It's going to be Tracer, a lone Storm, and Dragon zoning them out. I love that.
Yeah, Storm are really going to have to be pushing it. However, Marshy going to be having other words about that.
And it's going to give them just enough time for Jack to get back on. Here comes Hoon and Kaz. Hoon grabs Gretsu early on, but Flare the Ash, unbelievable work, cleaning up the rest of Dirt from the point. Nice and crisp and clean all the way through, and Spectre takes it.
Yeah, and that's again, it feels like I say this every time I cast a game, and it's because I do. You had Flare on that high ground. Again, when you have a long-range hero on the high ground, far away from where the engagement's actually taking place, they're able to get so much leverage uncontested here. Well, Storm doing their best to contest, but not quite going to be landing the necessary utility that they needed to.
Yeah, I there it is. Play of the game and difficult. I don't think the Kaz stream gets to see it. It was Flare. He was on the high ground. He was uncontested, and he was doing good work.
Yeah, and the best you can try to do is maybe harass them a little bit, but if you dive in there with just one person and Flare's on that very thin high ground like we saw with the ledge, you're able to just use the coach gun as Ash and just knock whatever opponent tried to jump onto you off, and then they have to either wait for their cooldowns or try to refocus their efforts. And either way, it's just lost cooldowns on a hero that's essentially tearing up your team. You really have to coordinate that and try to really put the pressure on them with multiple people in that situation.
Yeah, and Widowmaker was banned, but Ash's scoped headshot is almost no less damaging, pretty much bringing a normal hero to their knees and capable of being followed up on with one or two hits. And when Mercy boosts them, all bets are off, and a Tracer is just completely unable to do anything against them. And Flare, again, dominance on the hit scan. If I were Dirt, I'd choose my hero ban very closely, as Gretsu from Spectre has banned Ilios.
Yeah, so that will be two control point maps that will now be out of the rotation. I believe Busan going to be the only other one if we do want to run it, and it looks like that will be the case. And surprisingly, Dirt going to choose to ban Zen in this situation.
Interesting. Possibly they saw that the Discord's... So yeah, Discord's bad. Again, headshots also bad. But Zenyatta being banned on Busan.
I'm thinking that Dirt might be setting themselves up for the optimal Goats v Goats competition. If Spectre chooses to run Goats, then they'll have to do either an Ana or a Moira Goats, and Zen Goats able to get a lot of damage kind of put onto one target. The focus fire can be so great, but that is in exchange for the healing. So if you're able to follow up and have that focus fire, Zen Goats can be a lot more punchy, and it looks like they're trying to deny Spectre of that.
Ooh, that could very well be the case. And yeah, having that Discord, or rather lacking that Discord, whilst the opponent has it. Yeah, that is a really dirty situation to be in.
Yeah, and Busan, as we've seen, not exactly the least friendly Goats map. I think that we've seen it run last game. I think we saw at least one team run it each time, at least for a little bit on each submap. So certainly viable, and to have more Goats options than your opponent in any situation is still a pretty good thing.
Yeah, the 3-3 being as strong as it is right now, you want as many, as you said, alternatives available, but when you've got a no Zenyatta, then it's pretty much just the Ana or the Moira. And Moira, you tend to see a little drop-off in her pick rate as you get higher up into these skill levels, and we're definitely seeing that from Dirt and Spectre. That pretty much leaves you with the Brigitte, Lucio, Ana.
Yeah, it certainly does appear to be that way. However, there is a couple maps here, and we're going to be hopping right into it, actually, as a matter of fact, where that Ashe and Widowmaker may have been very valuable bans, but I don't know if Dirt was willing to kind of bet it all on black that this map would be coming up as one of the first two. Because, I mean, really, I think Flair's going to have to be a character we're watching out for here if they're going to be hopping onto a sniper class character.
Yeah, if there's one thing I know about Busan City Center, it's that the long-range hit scans are in. Bye, bye, bye. And as this countdown comes up, and sometimes we casters, we get what we like to refer to as jebaited by the opening compositions coming out. But if Flair doesn't pick one of those particular long-range hit scans, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, and barring any debates that may be coming our way, it looks like both teams will be electing for that Widow. The Widow dive actually looks like coming out from both sides. Hoon going to be on that Zenyatta. Lila Wong, of course, not going to have the option, hopping onto the Lucio for the time being.
So we got to see a little bit of the dueling Hanzos on Lijiang Tower, but now we're going to get to see some of the Widow duels. And man, do I love me some Widow duels.
Yeah, absolutely. We will have to see how Kaz measures up. But overall, again, Widow making those body shots a lot more lethal when you have the Zenyatta to really combo those Discord orbs with.
Oof, and it looks like the early duel is going to go to Flair, who pushes Kaz off the high ground, leaving Flair alone to dominate the battlefield. And here comes, wow, Ahsoka Toa going in very early. They're going to grab Pusey with the help of Gretsu, who melees away the monkey. Never saw a ninja win a fistfight with a monkey, but that's going to be the case. Kaz will take them away from that, though. And the fight being engaged very long range and earnest, as no team even close to the point, but it looks like Spectre's going to rotate back on.
Yeah, and if you're watching that kill feed, it's hilarious to see both Genjis try to dive the Widows and both Genjis getting killed for it. You typically don't see that, let alone twice. However, it looks like the team of Dirt is going to be trying to maintain this high ground with Jack hopping up there as D.Va. High ground's so potent when you have that Widow, and without Flair to contest, it's going to be Kaz having a pretty large advantage.
Pusey and his Zenyatta doing a great job of ripping apart the Widow in the high ground. Gretsu, however, going to find his counterpart, getting a little bit of that revenge. And Spectre going to be staying in control at this point, slightly edging Dirt out with a man advantage. But with Pusey having that nano on his hand, he's going to build up to Primal immediately. But unfortunately, Spectre's going to clean up the rest of the team.
Yeah, Pusey really working to get, I believe it was Gretsu on that Genji, really focus them down with their nano. Perhaps not the greatest use of the ult there. You might want to find a little bit more purchase of it on point, or in, you know, a perfectly predictive case, just not use it and plan on having it for the next fight.
Yeah, with the overwhelming ult advantage coming in for Spectre, that's a situation where maybe you save that for your ults coming online for the rest of Dirt, and unfortunately that is for Dirt going to be getting caught in that little little choke there. Almost pretty much everyone going to get torn apart by Gretsu, who can go absolutely crazy. He is, however, going to fall to a poison mine from Kaz. Unless you catch that one on the way out, can't deflect it.
Yeah, Kaz, both snipers actually doing very well against their Genji counters here. And with Kaz now having these sights, going to give them a little bit of an advantage, at least until Flair decapitates them.
Yeah, Flair finally taking the first victory in the Widow duel that so far has been played by proxy. Pusey now going to finally get angry and go crazy. And here, this could be the start of Dirt's draw as they rip apart the supports in the backline of Spectre, and not going to be taking control of the point yet, but their man advantage makes it all but inevitable.
Yeah, Lila Wong actually having a little bit of a misstep there, popping the sound barrier as Storm collapses onto them, going to be dying before it hits ground. That will be a reset ult, but they still aren't going to be too hurting for those ultimates themselves.
Yeah, and Spectre is showing that very favorable situation of being in a position with an overwhelming ult advantage and a 99% showing for their percentage. One solid set team fight is all it takes.
Yeah, indeed. I think Hoon going to have to work very hard to try to counter Gretsu, as well as the Nano Blade coming through from Marshy to assist with that as well, and have to be staying on their toes.
Now that being said, Hoon's got the perfect counter. They've got the trance, but it looks like it's going to be opening with Sokotoa's Primal Rage. They're going to drop the barrier, the sticky bomb on it, and boom, there it goes. But Hoon gets eliminated! Here comes the Nano Blade! Oh no, it's all over. The trance comes in, and Gretsu just gets to go absolutely ham.
Yeah, that was... I admire Hoon's capabilities to stay calm in that situation. Despite getting popped by a raging monkey, he did not pop that Transcendence. I guess they were anticipating being able to use it on the return. It just didn't happen for them. And they put a lot of faith into their DPS, but in the end, it just doesn't pan out sometimes.
Yeah, I can identify with being the Zenyatta in that situation. You know the Transcendence is the only thing standing between a raging Genji, and your team's defeat. But if you get knocked off of the map, you know you can't lose it because maybe there's a chance. Maybe Genji will get taken out before they get a chance to pop it off. Unfortunately for Dirt, that didn't happen, and we're going to be going to Mecha Bay, where Dirt will literally fight for their life in this tournament.
Yeah, I like the Mei pick here just because I think a lot of times we see teams that can get settled onto the point, really utilize that Mei and get a lot of freeze potential, which allows for a lot of focus fire. Other than that, no DPS coming through on the side of Dirt, and we'll see if it affects them negatively or positively.
Yeah, without the Zenyatta coming out from Spectre, they have the advantage of maybe being a little squishier on their attack. And here we go, Dirt going straight for the engage, the Mei doing some solid work, but unfortunately it's going to be Spectre, who with the advantage of a very, very well-placed nano, is going to eliminate Zarya and Brigitte from Dirt's lineup, and they're going to, after a little more cleanup, go straight to the point.
Yeah, Kaz not looking like they were able to quite get the wall set up properly to get the full separation, and then on top of that, the team not able to really collect on that full separation in due return.
Oof, and there it is, a big shatter going into the backline, but unfortunately Sokoto is actually going to die as Pusey rips him apart for the audacity. Nano Boost now going in though, let's see if Spectre can handle it.
Yeah, and once again, that Nano Boost going on to Gretsu, going to be just building up a bunch of ult charge on that Zarya, well, at least if they hadn't gotten killed by Jack.
Oh, and before they get a chance to do anything to counter that particular Mei ult, it's going to be Dirt's turn to do a little bit of cleanup on the point. Sokotoa getting frozen right in the middle of a charge. He is going to get grenaded, but that's not going to stop Pusey from slamming him into mush. Nakano being the only one left on the point.
Yeah, Marshy really trying to leverage that high ground. However, when it's basically a 2v6, 2v5, there's only so much an Ana can heal that's really going to provide a lot of value. And in that case, you maybe just back out so you don't get staggered.
And Mech Bay being that kind of map where the high ground doesn't always help you, as we saw, when those barriers go up, Ana's sightlines get a little reduced, and it's difficult to see everyone on your team that needs a healing.
Yeah, Kaz dropping the wall, perhaps not landing where they wanted it to. That's gonna maybe hurt them in the end.
Oof, Pusey throws a shatter right into a shield. It gets nothing, but they take it out on Gretsu. Sokotoa, though, has a nano, and barriers, though, coming out for Dirt. They're looking very strong on this point with a man advantage and a lot of sustain.
Yeah, looking forward, we may regret that sound barrier coming out from Hoon. As we look forward, Gretsu going to have that grab. It's looking like it's just going to be a bit of cleanup onto some of the less essential characters, but the nice Mei wall coming out, separating the team from that Zarya.
Very excellent use of your cooldowns, Mei. We love to see it, and that's going to be what determines this fight ultimately in the end, as their percentage overtakes and surpasses Spectre.
Yeah, and as I said, that Lucio sound barrier is really one of the best things aside from a Zenyatta Tress that you want to do to counter that grab. But if there's no follow-up, you don't really need to invest those ults. So that's going to be a best kind of win scenario from the now defending team.
And Dirt with their ult advantage is starting to flex. First comes the grab, then comes the Mei ult, possibly a little unnecessary. Spectre already on the retreat, and Dirt looking in an formerly excellent position, but Pusey now the only one with an ultimate, going to be coming up against a Rally and a very dangerous Diva Bomb.
Yeah, and Rally in itself is not necessarily a game-winning, massive impact ult. It's one of those ults that kind of collects over the course of a team fight. However, Kaz going to be putting that wall. That is a great separation.
Oof, but Storm gets taken out. But Dirt, Hoon, what are you doing? You're Lucio. It's going crazy. Somebody stop him. But I don't think Spectre's going to be able to answer. Dirt now entering into the end game for their particular point hold, and they have a bit of an advantage here with Mei, making sure that they're never fighting at a dis.
Yeah, and right now, as we said, the high ground not able to provide so much utility to Ana's. The Zen still, however, able to get quite a bit of utility, still being safely out of range, but able to keep those orbs on their teammates. Sokotoa not going to quite be able to stick around.
Yeah, Sokotoa sending out a shatter that manages not to catch anyone despite the plethora of unshielded Dirt members available. That's going to be Dirt taking this one, and boy, are they ever still in the fight.
Yeah, and I really like that positioning by Tasty. They said, hey, I don't need to maintain full line of sight to you. I can't get those big beefy nades like an Ana could, but I can still provide constant healing, still rain power from on high. If my teammates rotate right, we can hit them from one of two angles consistently. So I think for a Zen, it's a good choice, whereas maybe not so much with Marshy on that Ana.
Oh yeah, all Zen needs to do is maintain that line of sight every once in a while, and maintain it they did. And also that counts for the Discord. So here you go, now it's Busan's sudden death. Does Dirt get to play more Overwatch, or will Spectre take it and move on?
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. Gretsu perhaps trying to do, once again, a little bit early scouting, as we see come out with these Sombras every so often. But I'm not so sure that they're anxious to be scouting into a Goats comp.
Yeah, they're probably seeing what's coming out and realizing that Spectre for the first time are going to be running that 3. No, they're not. They still have the Sombra. But yeah, and here they go. It's going to be a big fight in that little bit of tasty high ground that the only thing is really available for. No kills coming off from either team, but Gretsu is going to be the first one to grab Storm. Now with no source of big sustain, Dirt is going to be facing a bit of a disadvantage. Pusey manages to get away with his life. Unbelievable. Spectre unable to finish the kill, but they have map control, and they're going to be the first ones to take control of the point.
Yeah, and one thing that it looks like Team Spectre really kind of cleaned up in their performance, it looked like for a brief moment, Flare would get behind or angle around Pusey and get the shield bash so they would get stunned. Gretsu quickly getting the hack onto Pusey before he could bring his shield up or take any damage from Pusey, and then Pusey still doesn't have a shield up and just has to face tank that damage.
Yeah, fantastic strategy, especially with the most recent debuff onto Brigitte saying that she can't slam through shields. Great option, but they're the base hack who comes out! Gretsu already having the EMP! This fight is over before it began. Information warfare proven to be the king.
Yeah, Jack probably lucky to get out of there before they transformed them into a baby diva, and that's not the spot you want to be in. Neither is Tasty's right now.
Oh, but that's huge. But a Dirty Stagger is going to be coming in on the supports as the fight goes all the way into the spawn of Dirt. Spectre cleverly, however, pulling out before it can get too dirty, as Dirt would definitely come flying out of there at a moment's notice.
Yeah, you have to be really careful playing that close to the spawn. And all the spawn camps team has to do is just back in a little bit. They get full HP from that massive spawn room healing and recapitalize.
Grav comes out, but the counter shatter was there. The anti-nade, however, is going to make it a little difficult for that trance to get any work done. Storm is going to get out alive, though, able to just barely escape, and Pusey going to take his Ryan counterpart for a ride. The Nano Boost, however, going to keep Sokotoa alive, and Spectre once again going to take the edge in this very pressured fight against Dirt.
Yeah, one of the massive MVP players in that situation was Marshy, landing that anti-nade, I believe, on 3 players, preventing Tasty from getting that Transcendence to do any real work onto the grabbed units.
And speaking of MVP, don't forget to vote for that MVP in the Twitch poll below. Speaking of MVPs, here comes Gretsu. You all know what's going to happen next. The thing goes in, the EMP goes out. The grab was already there, though, from Dirt, so that doesn't get stopped. And yet, Spectre is able to maintain their advantage as no one was able to follow up on the grab.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be Hoon just attempting to stall out a little bit. Hoon and Tasty, that is not going to quite be the punching power they need, though.
So not with a bang, not with an explosion, with just a few clever tacks on a imaginary keyboard, as Gretsu with the EMPs, they are going to solidify Spectre in the match, and that's going to be the last map going to Spectre Leviathan.
Yeah, overall, just Spectre looking very dominant, especially on Busan. Gretsu kind of really being a bugbear for the team of Dirt. They didn't really seem to know how to play around that Sombra, perhaps not doing a whole lot of what I would call spy checking, but overall I think it's a good place for Dirt to kind of pick up a baseline knowledge of where they need to go.
Yeah, in that situation, you'll see Brigittas a lot, maybe just swinging their rocket mace around, hunting for that now permanently stealth Sombra. So, well done to both teams. Of course, congratulations to Spectre Leviathan. They will go on into the losers bracket. We will say goodbye to Dirt once again. Well played.
Yeah, overall, just some solid play. I don't think I'm necessarily disappointed with either team. I feel like they both still played very well, still played to a very high degree. Just Spectre Leviathan looking a little bit more dominant. I don't know if the Zen pick, or the Zen ban rather, really kind of impacted their capabilities to play this game.
Yeah, if you could grab 2 bans, that could be the kind of situation where you say, okay, maybe we want Zen and Brigitte, and maybe we want to grab both the Widow and the Ashe out of the game. But instead, you know, you only get the 1 ban, so you have to make it count, and unfortunately for Dirt, they weren't able to get it through. Spectre Leviathan going to be going on through the tournament. This has been 3.007. Grab me on Twitter or Twitch at 3.007.
Now, Threepwood, I believe we are getting a little ahead of ourselves. We aren't doing an exit interview, but we are going to be announcing an MVP, my man. You've been plugging that the entire game. Let's not forget about it. Show the players some love. Who does we got, Three?
See, I leave the Harvey lifting to you. You're the smart one, I'm the pretty one. Kaz is going to be the MVP for the game. No surprise there, honestly. Really solid performance from everyone. But Kaz, I guess, specifically caught everyone's eye. Maybe in that little Widow duel between Flare, who knows, but they certainly proved their mettle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Kaz MVP, certainly not unearned. So much congratulations to Kaz, much congratulations to Spectre, and look forward to seeing Spectre continue on in this tournament.
Hells yeah. I've already said my bit, so Waltham, take us out.
All right, and on my behalf, I'm Sir Waltham. Catch me on Twitter at Sir Waltham Gaming, Twitch, Sir Waltham.
Thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. Stay safe.